Hello and welcome back to the Embrace the Mud podcast. Today we're exploring a topic that I think many of us grapple with at some point in our lives, and maybe you're grappling with it right now, and that is how to tell if you're actually settling in a relationship. Let's dive in. You are listening to the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, and life-giving relationships. Why focus on relationships? Because the quality of our intimate partnerships and close connections influences our health, happiness, and longevity more than anything else in our lives. Relationships matter a lot. So together, let's jump into the mud, aka our messy relationships, pull some weeds, plant some seeds, and create an enriching environment where strong relationships can take root. I am your grateful host, Dara Posner. I am a relational disaster working toward relational mastery. I am also a positive psychology coach, a relational mindset coach, a blogger, and now a podcaster. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Embrace the Mud podcast, where we discuss all things related to healthy, joyful, life-giving relationships. If you are a fan of this podcast, please subscribe, follow, like, review, and share. Your engagement in this way is crucial to the success of the podcast, and I appreciate you taking just a few seconds to support my mission, which is to help people like you flourish in life and love. All right, so we're talking about what it means to settle in a relationship, how to tell if that is actually what's happening, or, is there something that you can do to reorient yourself towards your relationship so that you can really feel confident that you're making a good decision and put both feet in and finally relax into the relationship that you're in. Oftentimes people will come to me in my coaching practice because they're in this position where they love their partner, but there's just this nagging feeling that they're settling and they don't feel a sense of certainty about the person that they're with and the relationship that they're in. And so we have to do a lot of work to help them make a decision, either to go all in or to get out. And when I meet folks like this, I notice 3 common reasons people find themselves in this position to begin with, and I want to share those with you. So the first reason you might be questioning whether you're settling in a relationship, and this is probably the most common reason that I see, is that you aren't actually clear on what you truly want and need in a relationship. And it's this lack of clarity that can make it really challenging to distinguish between, just making normal, healthy compromises in a relationship and settling for less than you actually want and deserve. The second reason that I see when people get into this situation where they're not sure if they're settling is when someone has a tendency to be what I would consider like an eternal seeker, that person that's like always chasing the next best thing. And that means that even when they achieve or receive whatever it is that they initially wanted, if they soon find themselves feeling unsatisfied again and looking for more and yearning for more again. And this is a recipe for just perpetual dissatisfaction, if this is a tendency that you have, because you're always thinking about what could be better rather than doing what a really good partner does in a healthy relationship, which is really focusing on what they have in their partner and what they have in the relationship and feeling assured that that is enough for them because they came into the relationship with that clarity of what it is that they actually wanted and what it is that they actually needed, and recognize that it exists here. But if you have that clarity of what you want, and every time you get what you want, you're always thinking about what more could I get or what more could I have, then you're going to find yourself wondering if you're settling in every relationship that you are in until you break that habit of thinking that way. And lastly, it's possible to find yourself in a relationship where there's a lot of good But there's that persistent but, and then you start questioning whether the but is significant enough to warrant deeper consideration. You recognize the good in your relationship, you recognize the good in your partner, but then also there are these other things, that make you go, it's good, but, right? We're happy, but I really love my partner, but. And so, the confusion lies in, are the things that come after but significant enough to make me pause and question whether or not this is the relationship for me? So those are the three most common reasons that I see for finding yourself in a position of whether you're wondering if you're settling. And just to define what settling really means, when you settle in a relationship, this is when you are compromising what you truly want, what you truly value, and what you need in order to be in that relationship. Settling means that you're accepting less than you truly desire and deserve. And you do this often because you're driven by some sort of fear or insecurity. Oftentimes it's a fear of being alone, or a fear of not finding something better, or of leaving the relationship and then regretting having done so. So let's try to help you get clear on what are some real signs that you are, in fact, in a relationship where you're settling, where it's not enough, and we'll also talk about what you can do about that if you do come to that clarity that, like, I am indeed settling after listening to this. So the first and biggest sign that you are for sure settling in your relationship is that there is disrespect and mistreatment, and you are on the receiving end of it. Disrespect and mistreatment are like flashing warning signs. They are signals that something is for sure amiss. And when you endure mistreatment in your relationship and then you continue to stay, this is what it looks like to settle. And again, you stay under these conditions because you're often driven by fear, if the fear of being alone, the fear of not finding somebody better, and thinking that maybe the good in the relationship, could compensate for the mistreatment that you are experiencing. But the truth is, there's no amount of good that could ever make being disrespected in a relationship or treated poorly acceptable. And if you're in a relationship, no matter how good the other things are, if that's what you're experiencing, then my position is that you are definitely settling. Two other signs that you are probably settling in your relationship is that, you are someone who strives to see the best in your partner and look for the good in the relationship and celebrate the ways that you are compatible, and look at what's going right and look at what is working well. And yet there's this perpetual sense of dissatisfaction and unfulfillment in the relationship. You're just kind of, constantly unhappy, feeling not at ease and dissatisfied with the relationship. And the third sign that you're probably settling in your relationship is that you don't fully trust your partner. Trust is the bedrock of any healthy relationship. And if you don't feel like you can completely trust your partner, then I would say it's fair to conclude that you're settling in your relationship. And that lack of trust could come from, actual betrayals that have happened that maybe you haven't fully recovered from, or there hasn't been a total repair in the relationship that hasn't really been healed yet, or there's nothing specific that you can point to, but you have this nagging sense all the time that you can't really trust the person that you're with completely. And I would say that would definitely be a legitimate cause to pause and to investigate further of, why this is, that this isn't a good enough dynamic and situation and experience, and, to really figure out what needs to be done to rectify that. So, you really want to get clear first and foremost, to get yourself out of the situation where you are settling, where you're no longer settling, is to get clear on what it is you truly want and need from a partner and from a relationship. And if you're in a relationship right now, to be able to see if they line up, see if they match up, and be clear, what are my deal breakers? Do any of my deal breakers exist in my current relationship? If so, you're settling. And then if you have, that tendency that we talked about earlier to be someone who's, always chasing the next best thing, really doing that inner work to figure out for yourself, what is it that I want, and why do I always want more even when I get what I want? And get yourself to a place where you can decide, when it comes to a romantic partnership, this is what's enough for me. And then when you have it, really allow that to be enough so that you can fully commit to the relationship that you're in. And if you are, that person who there's a lot of good, there's so much good about your partner and the relationship has a lot of positives. And yet, there are just some things that ultimately are intolerable for you, that that if this is still this exact way a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years down the road, that you wouldn't want to still be in that relationship, then you are settling. But here's something that I want you guys to really understand is that by acknowledging you're settling, that doesn't always mean leaving the relationship. It can mean inviting your partner to create enough change in the relationship for it to be good enough for both of you. So the first step is to get clear for yourself, what is making this relationship not good enough as it is right now? And then being able to have that courageous conversation where you let your partner know that right now, as it stands, this is not the relationship that you want to be in, but you're willing to stay and work with them to help that relationship grow and evolve into the relationship that you really do want, and see if they're willing to do that. And of course, they may not be able to, and that is the risk that you have to be willing to take, but it is certainly a risk worth taking. So I hope that this episode helped you today. If you enjoyed it, if you learned something, I would love for you to subscribe, leave a review if you haven't already, share this episode with someone close to you. Your feedback is truly, truly appreciated and helps the podcast grow. I will be back very soon with another episode here on the Embrace the Mud podcast. Until that time, I invite you to trust your instincts, to be kind to yourself, to be honest with yourself. If you are settling in a relationship, I hope that you will be willing to admit that to yourself and then boldly take actions that will get you out of that situation and into a relationship that is truly aligned with what it is that you desire, what it is that you need, and what it is that you deserve. And that you'll always remember that love should never mean sacrificing your happiness and certainly not your well-being. All right. So like I said, I'll be back very soon with another episode. In the meantime, please remember, you are wired for love and connection. You are capable of love and connection. You are worthy of love and connection. I'll see you soon.